This is Dr. Louis Trams's Trump-era teach-ins, and I'm Michael Louis Trams, talking about the characteristics of dictatorship.
You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one.
Dictatorship is a system built around a person or a small clique of people who dictate to others what they should be doing, or sometimes it's even worse, what they should not be doing and what they're not allowed to be doing. Before we dissect how a dictatorship functions, we should talk about the basics of how human beings function. And it's been my observation that humans want to do things. Humans want to live. We can, in small numbers, make some things happen. If you put us back under the savannah, after our distant ancestors crawled out from the jungle, and I were there, I could at least wring the neck of some squirrel-like animal, but I couldn't hunt giraffes or elephants, or the North American plains. If I were a Native American, I could gather berries, maybe even catch a fish, but it would take other people with me to chase the buffalo over a cliff. So in small groups, people can do small things. That's why we make systems to work with others to catch bigger catch, to build bigger houses, you get the idea. So when we make systems, different abilities arise, and some people want different levels and different forms of power. We've all been in a school, a factory group, whatever human organization. There are always those who are happy to lean against the wall and to observe. There are those who want to lead, to make decisions, to change things. And then there's sort of those in the middle who navigate between the two kinds of forces. The smaller the group, it's possible that someone could rule autocratically, but the smaller the group, the more likely the others would say, I'm not going to do that. And they would drift away, or they would rebel, they'd stand up. But the larger the group, the harder it is often to do that, because you're in a nation, you're in an army, you're in a church or Islamic group or a Quaker meeting or whatever it would be. So the larger the group, the more complex, the more it is possible for some actor to arise into that setting and to find ways to tell others what to do and have the means to make them do it, to have control of the army, the control of, for example, the court system that makes decisions about your well-being. So a dictator arises and dictates. You have petty dictators and you have great big dictators. The would-be petty dictator we can point to in today's world would be Viktor Orban of Hungary, who rendered the press ineffectual and toothless, and he basically co-opted or made power as opposition. He runs the country pretty much unopposed. You can copy that Turkey with Recep Erdogan. Then you have North Korea, an extreme case, even though it's a small country with relatively little impact outside its borders. That's changing. But Kim Jong-un rules without question. You have the modern dictator Vladimir Putin. Those who would question his authority to rule are put away. The case of Navalny, who tragically, painfully died in a prison in the deepest of Siberia. And the message is clear. If you question the way things are, it's not going to go well for you. So in the American system, we haven't had that. There's always been someone that we could appeal to, say, this is not fair what's going on over here. Could you weigh in on this? And the executive had to listen to the judicial, and the legislative had to respond to the voters. And so that was working. So the characteristics of a dictator are someone's calling the tune and everyone else has to dance to it. If they don't, there'll be consequences. But those who become dictators don't just usually arrive out of nowhere, like fall from the moon and they're in the midst of us. No, it takes time. Napoleon was a military person during the French Revolution. He rose up, he got more power, he became a dictator, led to the deaths of thousands, millions of people across Europe. Hitler didn't just arrive on the scene. He actually attempted his putsch, a coup, November 1923. It took 10 years for the man to finally consolidate power. He rose up through the system. In fact, he used the system. He didn't take over the German government in 1933 by force. He did it through the elections and coalition building. And then once he had a majority power, he whittled away the power of the other people. So dictators, they work their way up, and usually they get people to follow them with a huge project. We're going to make La Grande Nation in France, and Napoleon. We're going to make a French era. The Nazis. We're going to build a 1,000-year Reich. Germany will be like it's never been. It'll be powerful, and calling the shots across Europe, and we'll be superhumans, literally, racially, and physically. We'll be, blonde, Aryan, blue-eyed, all that stuff. And now we have the slogan, we're going to make America great again. So to have a dictatorship, you can't just walk in usually and take over a country. You have to slowly beat this drum, and you have to get the others to dance to that beat. Some of them do it willingly, others because they see that it's a chance for them to advance their own career. I think of Lindsey Graham, our vice president, once said that Trump would become a Hitler, and this has come to pass, or at least a man who wants to become dictator. This is all usually announced before. In Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler said very clearly what he wanted to do. It was all there. It shouldn't have been a surprise. Yet people were surprised when the Nazis took power, including Jews, said, whoa, what's this? Well, hadn't they been paying attention the decade before? So dictators usually arise from within a system, and part of their mission is they have to destroy the system they arose up in. So Napoleon totally changed the French Republic, took on the church, took on the judicial, created the Napoleon Code Civil. Hitler as well, once he and his henchmen got firmly into power in 1933, it was called Gleichschaltung, which literally means to make everything the same, but to consolidate power, to bring everything into order, to enable. In English, we call it the enabling act, the Gleichschaltung. So a dictator comes from within on the promises of this new great era, 1,000-year Reich, or make America great again, or whatever it would be. And then once they have enough power, they consolidate, this taking over. And so the person doing the dictating can more and more, without opposition, tell others what to do and what not to do. And for whatever reasons, individuals within that country or bodies within that country coalesce. They collude. They become the biggest supporters, often thinking they can control the dictator. The German financial elite, the capitalist, they thought Hitler was not a problem. They would fund his campaigns. They would get him into power, and then he'd be their boy. But it didn't turn out that way. Napoleon, too. They thought they could keep this young, rising military star in check. Soon he had the power. Vladimir Putin, through the KGB, Yeltsin brought him in, thought he'd be a puppet of the oligarchs. He turned the tables. One of the basic characteristics of dictatorship is that they never evolve the way that it is thought would happen, either by the person installing the dictatorship or the people who want to just sit it out and say, well, this will pass. The Jews of Germany often said, this is just a fluke. Hitler's not serious. He's a clown. He just talks big, but his words really don't mean much. His words meant a lot. So that's one of the first main characteristics that we have to be mindful of in the rise of dictatorship, is they come from within, not from without. They sweep key people and institutions with them while they're promising this big new era, this big project. And then once they get power, things change. Let's talk about those characteristics.